A little bit more background. In the introduction, the first piece of paper, it gives a little bit about me, more pertaining to this apostolate than anything else. Back in 1995, with my pre-spiritual director's approval, I made private vows to live a life consecrated to Jesus, as a consecrated disciple of Jesus, the Son of God and Son of Joseph and Mary. And then being raised in foster care, I didn't have an attachment to my family name. So it was some providential happenings. A year later, I legally changed my last name to Joseph to publicly witness that the patron of the church was my patron. And then to bring to light St. Joseph's place in the earthly Trinity, as it's depicted in the statue there, his unity with Jesus and Mary, I began the apostolate St. Joseph, our patron. And I put together an essay entitled St. Joseph's Place in the Earthly Trinity, which you all have a copy of. And that's what we're going to go over today. Basically, this is a fruit of meditation, hopefully inspiration, over 24 years. I started in 1995, and my last update, tweaking of, the package here was just in January. So it's really, it's been constant. No, the mic's on. It's just me. So.
That's all right. We can hear you now.
Another piece of the essay, where, like if you're looking at the title page and you flipped it up, there's a little intro here. And the reason why I use this, I go over the essay when I teach this, is because it keeps me focused. I do provide commentary, but also people like having it so that they go over and then they go take it home and then they further meditate upon it. Okay, so, it's I could be up here and just ad-libbing, but, having the essay as a focal point, like I said, it helps me and hopefully it helps you too. The second paragraph here is a quote from Father Francis Files. He was a Jesuit from the last century, which isn't that long ago, but he passed away in 1989. And most of his writings were on St. Joseph. And he wrote an article, which I quote from here, "What will be the devotion in the future to St. Joseph?" Well, what will be the devotion to St. Joseph in the future? And he really prophesied what I believe I've been given to understand and to share. He states, "Vatican II has officially said what older theologians of St. Joseph had said, that the heart of devotion to the saint is imitation of his example." I think most of us, when we talk about patrons, we talk about, well, who's the intercessor for this? Who's the intercessor for that? Who do we go to pray for, whether it's cancer, childbirth, whatever problem we may have. And lots of times we don't appreciate that dimension of patronage, being that they're models of devotion. Like, you have St. Teresa of Calcutta. She's the patron of her spiritual family, her daughters and her sons, because there is a male community too. And they imitate her devotion. They imitate her devotion to Jesus in the Eucharist, devotion to Our Lady, but also devotion to Jesus in the poorest of the poor. There's something very specific about that devotion that she gives her family. And so when we look at St. Joseph too, there's something specific that he gives us that we are to imitate. And that's basically what we're going to talk about tonight. What is the devotion of St. Joseph that we are to imitate? All the prayers in the world which we say in honor of the saint would mean little if we did not try to honor him by the truest form of devotion, which is imitation. There it was seen lies the essence of the future devotion to St. Joseph, that you and I and others attracted to the example of St. Joseph would, in his footsteps, try to accept the will of God as it occurs in our lives, and to ask St. Joseph's intercession that we might have the strength of grace to follow his example of complete consecration to the love of Mary, and through her to the ultimate love of Jesus our God. And, that's portrayed in that statue. That Joseph took Mary, when the angel said to Joseph, fear not, and I'm going to paraphrase, fear not to take Mary into your home, into your heart, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit. And that's really the essence of this devotion, is living a life consecrated to the love of Mary, and then through her to Jesus. And we have saints in the church, like St. Maximin Colby, St. Louis de Montfort, the founder of, who's the Legion of Mary, Father Joseph Kentenek, who started the Schoenstatt movement. We have many who, have taught about consecration to Mary and how valuable that is. They all come from a different angle, different perspective, and hence this also has its unique perspective. This is a little prayer that I use. It just, it just keeps my focus on the two aspects. A lot of people, when they teach about St. Joseph, they emphasize that, he's the image of the Father to Jesus. But they don't talk about who he is to Mary. And he's the image of the Holy Spirit. And really, when we have devotion to him, we really have to understand both relationships. That's why the title of the essay is St. Joseph's Place in the Earthly Trinity. It's understanding that these three are one. Our devotion to them should be complementary, and that they point to each other. And again, we'll see that in the essay. From the Catechism of the Catholic Church, we talked about patrons being models of devotion, along with intercessors. The patron saint provides a model of charity, which can be looked at love, devotion. We are assured of his intercession. And this is a general comment. It's not just about St. Joseph, but it's about all patrons. So let's turn to the essay. The purpose of this whole apostolate, and especially the essay, is taken from Pope John Paul II's Guardian of the Redeemer. One of his motives for writing Guardian of the Redeemer. Are you good? We're good? Okay. Was so that all may grow in devotion to the patron of the universal church. Father Jean Gierson, the founder of Josephology, which is a branch of theology that studies the life and mission of St. Joseph, coined the name Earthly Trinity. I put that in here because I didn't want people to think like I was making up something weird or something. You got Trinity here, Trinity there. It's like, But Earthly Trinity, some other theologians and Josephologists have meditated upon them being an image of the divine Trinity. Mostly, again, they look at, St. Joseph being the image of the Father, Jesus is Jesus, and Mary's the image of the Holy Spirit. The way I see it is, Jesus says, he who sees me sees the Father. Jesus is, really the image of the Father. Mary's heart is the image of the heart of the Son of God. As he loves the Father, she loves Jesus, And then St. Joseph is the image of the Holy Spirit. That love of Mary. So I don't really get into that too much in the essay. That's just a comment. This first page versus the back of the essay. The back of the essay is just quotes from mystics and from Pope John Paul II. And the first part, it was really, something I pieced together, what I was taught. The main theme of the first page is the imitation of Jesus, loving Joseph and Mary. Lots of times when we look at prophets, or we think